TheJamies.net.
We sailed on the Holland America Koningsdam for 14 nights, from late December 2025 into early January 2026. During our cruise, we had the privilege to once again sit down with Bettyann Chun, the ship's travel guide, for a chat about how she helps passengers better understand each port and make the most of their time ashore. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos.
Hi, my name is Bettyann, and my current position with Holland America Line is travel guide. It focuses exclusively on the destination and the ports and all the information involved with the ports. So the travel guide is also responsible for putting together port talks. That's something that has not been around for the last 6 or 7 years, so we're bringing it back. And also responsible just for getting as much information as possible about the ports and the destinations and the itinerary. And we are also doing the up-close talks, which are the regional talks that we do that feature stories about the different regions that we visit. Shore Excursions is responsible for selling you Holland America Line shore excursions. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to tell you information about the ports. All right, so my previous role used to be the cruise and travel director. That came into existence about 8 years ago, and they combined the role of the cruise director with, at that time, it was called the EXC guide. That was the travel guide. They wanted to combine it in one person. So I did that for about 6 years. I was very busy. It was very fulfilling, but very busy. And sometimes one aspect of that role took a backseat to the other part of the role. So it was felt over the years that we wanted to separate it, and our guests, their feedback, they wanted it separated as well. Because the two things that Holland America Line is known for is the food and the itinerary. So they wanted to get more information about the ports and the destinations. So bringing the role back, they actually asked me when they decided to roll out the travel guide role, which one did I want? They gave me the choice. Do you want to continue as the cruise director or the travel guide? I chose the travel guide because that's the main reason why I'm on ships, is for the travel, and I love the destinations. And this is the role that I enjoy, because the direction that are going with the cruise director, it is going to be somebody a little bit younger and also a lot more energetic. It's going to be somebody you're going to see dancing poolside, probably hanging out in BB King's, dancing the night away, doing your trivias, doing your bingos, and basically being the face, the voice, and the representation of the ship. And with the travel guide, you're going to see us around as well. A lot of that's going to be focused more on the research of the ports, going out into the ports, and gathering the information. Well, right now we're in the Caribbean. I've done 5 Caribbean seasons, so yes, I have been to every island. However, that does not mean that I still know everything, because every port changes. Things change, rates change. Some things existed 5 years ago, some things don't exist now. So it's still a matter of going out into port, every port that we go to, going out and doing the research and finding and gathering the information. A lot of our guests, they also want a focus on history and the culture. So that involves reading actual books. So I do read a lot of books. So to prepare for this Caribbean season, I read a lot of books about Columbus, about the Age of Discovery, about certain Spanish conquistadors like Cortez, Francisco Pizarro, a lot of different 17th, 18th century history. Have a specific activity in mind, first of all, and just ask, what would you recommend are the best places to do such and such activity? Like, what are the best snorkel places? Good pointed question, and you get the most out of the travel guide's time at that point. Or other recommendations like, I would really like to go hiking. Can you recommend any hiking trails? Or I am really interested in knowing more about the history. Can you recommend some attractions or a museum that would be of particular interest to me? Give us a little guidance of the direction that you want to go to, because a lot of these ports, you can do a lot of different things. And if I start listing them all off, you're going to get overwhelmed. Like, can I do that in the 8 hours that we're going to be here in port? And I'm like, probably not. So we need to focus in on a couple of things that you want to do. So when I put together the port talks, I look for, number one, the top 3 to 5 highlights of that particular port. What is it known for? And then I research those, and I also look in what is the accessibility for mobility issues. And when I do deliver the port talk, I'm very honest about whether or not this is strenuous. And I say point blank, if you have mobility issues, this is not for you. And I also describe a lot of the hikings like, okay, this is hiking where you're walking in nature. It's a level field, you're not going up steep hills. Okay, I'll describe that. But then when I describe, okay, if you want to hike to the pitons, you are literally climbing up a rock with a rope, and that's it. You do need to be quite honest and candid. And I know that some people think that I'm trying to scare them off. I'm not. I'm just pointing a realistic picture of what you can and cannot do. You need to have international data plan, whether it's through your own cellular provider or you go and get an eSIM or a SIM card. You need to know how to use those and have access to internet. Secondly, Google Translate is a game changer for anyone. Breaking that language barrier, I have used Google Translate in Turkey, in Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, because I don't speak any of those languages, and just to break that language barrier is a huge, huge step forward for travel. So visiting a tender port, so that means that the port doesn't have a dock that's big enough for our ship to come in. So what we do is we use tenders that are on the ship. They are not the lifeboats, they are the tenders. There's a difference between the two. They are bigger, and what usually happens is we have to issue tender tickets, and that's an organized way of getting approximately 3,000 people off the ship in an ordered manner. Because if we didn't use the tender tickets, it would be utter chaos. A lot of it requires you having some patience and knowing it is a process. You will be standing in line and just anticipating and just preparing yourself that there's going to be some wait time. Most of the ports where we dock, we do dock right into the city. However, there are some docks that we dock in that are not right in the city. And assuming that you can just walk right off the ship straight into port is probably a common misconception. The travel guide will know in advance where we are docking and what available transportation is available to them. The next question I often get is, how much is a taxi? Again, that is going to depend on how many people you have in the taxi, where you are going, and what time of the day. So I cannot give you a fixed rate. In some ports, they do post the fixed rates, but in most ports, it is up to the taxi driver. And this is where you find the difference between the tourist and the traveler. The traveler is going to know you got to be flexible about the rates, because here in the Caribbean especially, you can negotiate some things. You can negotiate either a taxi tour, do it for about an hour, I'll give you this much. Everything is negotiable with some of these taxi drivers. Is the port safe? Trust me, most of the ports we go to, they are perfectly safe for guests. Otherwise, we wouldn't go to those ports. When you go to certain countries, there are certain precautions that you need to take, and normally the cruise ship will take those steps and the travel guide will let you know. Please be aware of your belongings, be aware of your surroundings, watch out for this and watch out for this. This does not mean that once you step off the ship that automatically you're going to get mugged or you're going to get pickpocketed. No, it means you need to take extra precautions, be aware of your surroundings, and just be a smart traveler. The other thing is try to be respectful of the culture that you go to. That's the other part. I know for most of the guests, this is probably the first time they've been in this port. They're very excited to see it. I get the excitement. The one thing that you don't want to do is assume things that you take advantage of at home are going to apply to where you travel in port. So that's probably another myth. Everywhere we go is not going to be like the United States. It's going to be different. And that's the primary reason why you travel, because you want to see something different. One time in Curacao, I recommended the Curlandia Museum. And so this was a museum specifically developed around the transatlantic slave trade. And it highlights the Western African empires that existed at the time. Most of the history I grew up with did not focus on Africa. So it's a great museum, but it was actually started by a Dutchman who was absolutely abhorrent to slavery. And he built that museum as a testament to like, this cannot ever happen again. I did send a couple of guests to see it, and they were really impacted by it, and they really appreciated that I did highlight it, and they came away with a new sense, a new understanding of what that was. So number one, you can find me doing my port talks. Those are listed in the daily program. I also hold desk hours called Ask Your Travel Guide. I'll have them daily, and you can look at them in the daily program. So I'll have them on both sea days and on port days. You can always find me on the gangway. The first thing that we arrive in port, I will be on the gangway greeting you. If you have any questions, please feel free to come up. And then just walking around the ship, you can ask me at any time any questions that you might have.